Well, Coach, Broncos didn't get off to the start they wanted to over the weekend, but this team has shown some resiliency, and you haven't really strung losses together much at all this season. Is that what you expect to just kind of flip the script and head into this weekend?
Well, if we look at the NCAA playoff games that we just played on the weekend, there's always a different feeling when you get to watch the tape afterwards. And at the time, certainly the first game against Duluth, we thought there was a lot of room for improvement, and then on Saturday, even greater room for improvement in the second game against Denver. As it was in the game against Duluth, we actually outchanced them when we analyzed the scoring chances. In the third period, up until the time that they got the 4-2 goal, they had not had one scoring chance, and we had had 5 really good chances to tie the game and take the lead. But you lose it, and you come away disappointed for sure. We didn't finish, and that's our responsibility to do that. Needed to be a little tougher around the front of their net. And then Saturday we played a different kind of lineup for Denver, one that featured a lot of grit and hard work. And they did come at us early, and we did not handle the puck real well. Didn't manage it, gave up a power play goal early in the hockey game, and then came back, and certainly in the second period, outchanced them about 3-1, and had a number of great opportunities. I think they ended up with 18 shots on net the whole hockey game. But the timing of certain goals, the goal at the end of the second period, the first night against Duluth, and then a goal about a minute and 30 seconds after we tied at 1-1 on Saturday against Denver, hurt our chances. So we did a lot of things actually really well. If you look at it, our so-called big offensive dogs, the guys that have that responsibility to score, did not give us that this weekend, and we certainly count on that. Going forward, we've got Air Force. No need to get a wake-up call for that one. They are, as they say they are, they're hardworking, determined, well-conditioned, compete the full hockey game, do not cheat anybody with their effort, play a real smart kind of game. Coach Saratori's done ex-Bronco, by the way, Frank Saratori, has done a great job with their team. They won a couple of tight playoff games on the weekend to win the Atlantic Conference, and we need to be ready. They're going to work as hard. I don't think you can outwork Air Force. I don't think you can outcompete Air Force. I know you can't outcondition them, but you got to get up to their level, and they need to execute in certain key situations, and that's what we'll be looking for. Kind of a long answer to a short question.
Andy, does Air Force, even though you've played them, do they remind you of some of the other teams that you play on a more regular basis in the NCAA? Is there any team that they might be similar to?
I thought Air Force will be very similar. Haven't played Air Force earlier. Very similar to the lineup that Denver dressed on Saturday against us. A hard-working, determined, gritty team where it wasn't based on 1 or 2 star elite players. It was based on a total. And that's not to say Denver's regular game is not based on a solid team game, because they're maybe play the best team game in college hockey, but they still have those elite top-end offensive players. So I think Air Force, and again, it's a compliment to their coaching staff, the way that they approach the game. They've balanced their forward units out, so they've got offense in all their forward units, their defense pairs, the same thing. And they do generate a lot of their offense from the blue line. They play a simple style that way. They get shots, they get people to the net, and they're just hungry. And it's going to be a real battle for us. Anybody that thinks that we got a favorable draw getting Air Force, I mean, yeah, we played them. I mean, we know how tough it was, the games that we had here against them. I mean, they were better than us the last period and a half in our building on Friday night, and then we had a real determined, very good effort, one of our best games of the year in the second game against them, and that's what it took to beat them.
The second game against Air Force, you saw the debut of Luke Bethere, and after a couple weeks, he was reinserted for the North Dakota series, and it's really been hard to get him out of the lineup. What has he been doing so well throughout the season?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point. I think Luke Bethere, when he got to us for training camp, and it's a case with a lot of young guys, underestimated the conditioning, the speed, the intensity that we play at here in Division I college hockey, and certainly in the NCHC. And to his credit, he recognized that himself, went to work, got in better shape, reshaped his nutrition plan, did a lot of things that he had to do to change in order to get into our lineup. And since then has got in and played very well. Now, of late, he's had a couple of games that have been under his normal standard, and we need him to raise his level again there because he's been an important part of our team in the last period of time.
Andy, so far in the postseason, the power play has not been able to produce a whole lot. Is that something that you'd be working on this week?
Well, Robin, we haven't scored in our power play, so I've got a suggestion box right here, and I've got a lot of assistant coaches reading some of the blogs around where people are commenting on our power play, so I'm taking notes from those and giving them to Coach Krieger, and we'll work at it. It's interesting. Our personnel has changed on our power play with some of the guys being in and out of the lineup, but that's no excuse for it. We need to work harder. The guys that are in there have got a great opportunity. I think it's we've complicated things too much. Our attention to detail was not where it needed to be this weekend. We started freelancing too much and got away from playing the solid team game that we need to play successful. There'll be individual recognition through team success, and I think some of our guys were going a little bit individual on us on times, and certainly on the power play. I mean, you have the man advantage. You have one extra guy out there. Why would you go one-on-one? I mean, you're just playing into the hands of the penalty killers. And, an interesting challenge for us will be Air Force's penalty kill because they're outstanding. They're really good. They block a lot of shots. They get in the shooting lanes. And so we're going to have to be real good. Thought our power play in practice was real good today, and we'll certainly make that a focal point all week, as we always do.
There is the elephant in the room of Western Michigan having never won an NCAA tournament game. How do you deal with that as a coach and help the players deal with that kind of pressure?
Well, you work for us, Adam. You don't have to remind me that we haven't won an NCAA game. No, I'm just joking. I mean, it's out there for sure. And I don't know. I don't think Hugh McGing knows that. I don't think Cam Lee knows that. Probably a lot of our young players don't know that. What we've tried to ingrain in our players is we got a game to play Friday night against a really good opponent. Let's be ready to play. So I don't think that will be on our minds. Again, it's easier to sleep having pleasant dreams and thinking about winning than rather than having nightmares and looking at the consequences of losing. So I hope all our guys sleep well on Thursday night and then take care of business. But, I mean, once you get this far and you're in the final 16, that means there's 16 good teams left, and every game is 50-50. I don't think you can go to a game right now in the 4 regional sites and pick the winner for sure. I mean, if you should be working in Las Vegas. But to me, every game's 50-50. It's 50-50 between the Broncos and Air Force. What you need to do is to maybe get those 2 percentage points to make it 52-48, and that's what we're going to try to do. But it'll be a battle to the end. Again, we've got so much respect for their team and how hard they play.
Throughout all of last week and even after the games, you've stressed that they earned this. They earned a chance to go to Minneapolis, and now they've earned a chance to go to Providence.
Yeah, that's a great point, and we brought that up. I mean, there were a lot of disappointed players in us not winning a game in the tournament this year in Minneapolis. I mean, our guys were, would you say, distraught, very disappointed, feeling that we let people down and so on. And I was quick to remind them right after the game that we earned the right to play in the national tournament because we won a lot of big hockey games this year. We beat a lot of really good teams, beat a number of them in their building, and we didn't back in. We didn't need somebody else to help us get in the tournament. I mean, we were basically, for the last while, we've been sitting as a number 1 or number 2 seed, and right now we ended up the number 6 seed, which I'd have to look back if we compare previous Bronco teams, whether there was a Bronco team seeded that high or not. I'm not sure, but
it's the highest.
It's the highest. So, we our team earned the right. These players earned the right, and just by competing and playing, taking every game as a separate entity and going after it, that's what we're going to try to do on Friday.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.